Mel Brown, and welcome to episode 53 of my crafting podcast. This is my vlog about knitting, crochet, weaving, spinning, dyeing, anything else that seems like a good idea at the time. I am an autistic woman living in the north of England with my husband, our 3 daughters and 3 cats. You can find me on social media over here. I've got a tiny little space. Forgive the mess in here in case you are watching this at a later date. We are in week 3 of lockdown. So we have 5 people living in this house and there is no space I can find which has proper lighting and is going to be quiet. So we will probably have to break off, but that's okay. And there's mess everywhere. It's just the way it is right now. So let's crack on. It's only been a week since my last podcast, but I am getting a lot of crafting time at the moment, so I have plenty to talk about. So as before, I will put time stamps down below, so if there are certain segments you're just not interested in, you can skip. So there's going to be some more giveaway, but again, I'm not advertising it. It's only for those people who are already watching. Okay, so I've got notes and I've got everything, so let's get started. Where are they now? What's happened to the projects that you've already seen? Now, the first thing I always talk about is the Memories Blanket by Georgie Nicholson. Well, today is the day I have been waiting for 2.5, maybe nearly 3 years. It's finished. And I have to say, it is my happiest project ever. Here it is. My wonderful friend Andrea has had it for the last, I don't know how many weeks, and what she has done is, you'll have seen all of this before and the edging, but what you haven't seen before is this. So this beautiful fleece she has stitched onto the back, and then she's put these little ties on to hold the 2 pieces together, and it is a finished blanket. I'm going to try and move back without hitting everything. Oh man, it is just perfect. She managed to get it to me, left it in my porch and parked on the drive, and I desperately wanted to give her a hug, but obviously I couldn't. But isn't it amazing? And it's just perfect. So I'm sat on the sofa. Part of autism for me is liking having something on my lap. Even if I'm not cold, I still want to have a blanket covering me, just as a security thing. And this is the perfect size for it. It stretches from up here if I want it, down to my feet. I can tuck my legs in sideways or straight ahead, and it's got some weight. It's a lovely weight, and it's beautiful on the outside, and it's soft and snuggly on my skin if it happens to be skin underneath. It's just perfect. Andrea, thank you so much. So it's done. Wow. She said she wanted to get it to me because she's sick of seeing this. Memories being the first item mentioned. So for any of you who haven't seen this YouTube the last 2 years, these are all leftover sock yarns from projects that I've made, and when I'm sat with it on my lap, I can look down and think, oh yeah, that one. I made a frog, Figaro frog, a Susan Claudino pattern, for my brother for Christmas a couple of years ago with that, and I made my first ever pair of socks with that, and it's just like it is a memory blanket. It's all about my memories of crafting over the last 10 years effectively. So yeah, it's done. It's the best thing ever. If you'd started one of these and it's still languishing somewhere, there is hope. Well, that's going to be nice there. So, memories. Okay, the next big project is the Advent blanket, which is a mitered square. I always put the name of the pattern. It's called Double Crochet Mitered Square, and it's double crochet US terms, so it's treble crochet for the UK terms. Now, I've done 6 blocks, and a block is 9 squares. This was the 7th. I was part way through the border, and the border is now finished. The light isn't fab in here, but it's better than it can be. And then block 8, I had shown you all pinned up, and I have now joined that. and that's got the 3 yarns that Sarah dyed for me. My friend Sarah, who we do swaps quite a lot, and she dyed these 3 for me. That's definitely a much better representation of the colours. Still not as beautiful as they are, but so that just needs its border, and that's block 8, and there are 12 that need to be done. So doing really well. I've also got loads of probably almost enough to do put together another block. So yeah, they're just flying off the hook. It's just wonderful. Right, Starburst, nothing happening on that. Something shiny happened. So that's, I won't give you any information on that one. Skew. Now, that's been a no progress project for a couple of episodes. So I decided it was time to move it on. And what I wanted to do was to get it to a particular place that I could show you something exciting about the pattern. Now, forgive me that these are socks that I wear all the time, so they're not brand new. This is the Skew design. So I've shown this once before, but I want to show it again because it was quite a long time ago. So you've got your big toe here and your other toes here, and it goes in skewed lines up the leg, but the really fantastic stuff is on the back here. So around the sides and this side. Look at how magnificent these are. So you can see that we've separated out here, and then there's this really interesting join here, which makes such a, yeah, it's that bit there really, that kind of swirly bit there. And it's absolutely magnificent. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about how that's done. It's a free pattern, so you can download it yourself. So what happens is you just work a tube as you would with any sock, starting increasing, but the increasing is slightly different. And once you're working the tube, in order to keep the slant, you just increase at one end and decrease at the other, and that keeps the slanted tube. And then a little bit later, this is my cute little marker to tell me, that that's where I need to start the next section when I do my second sock. So a little bit later, you start increasing around a couple markers here, and you can see where the increases have gone there. And a little bit later, this is my little dragonfly or lobster, depending on the way you look at it, macrame stitch marker from Mulan Gifts. You start decreasing around another place, and you end up with this funny shaped sticky out tube thing. And now we've got to the point which Holden, the designer, calls the origami moment. And this is what I wanted to show you because it's the genius of this pattern. It's really easy up till now. It's just really fun. You know exactly what to do because you come to the marker and you do what you need to do. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to graft together 2 sections of this. So grafting in a Kitchener stitch. We've got either side of this lobster, we've got 15 stitches, and we're going to graft them together. And this tube suddenly becomes a sock with a heel, because these grafted stitches suddenly make a heel at the back of the foot, and we are now going up the leg with the remaining stitches. I don't know how well I've shown you that, but it's just the most amazing thing. And if you've ever thought I couldn't do socks because I don't know how to turn the heel, this does, you don't turn the heel, you just graft 15 stitches together and suddenly you have a heel. It's amazing. Anyway, the yarn is obviously stunning. It's my favourite yarn dye, Easy Knit John, and you can see the way it's pooling in delightful kind of galaxy and whatever, you know, that kind of thing. Absolutely stunning, and it's got some sparkle, which I'm not sure you can see. So yeah, it's a wonderful pattern, but I'm at that magic moment now, so I will do the grafting probably later today, and when you see that sock, I suspect it'll be finished. So that's the skew, and that's really the only pattern that I knit one at a time. I have knit 2 at a time before, but I just didn't enjoy it. So right, so I'm going to grab some green tea. Drinking an awful lot at the moment. I've had quite a sore throat, and I'm just trying to crack on with sorting that out. Right, that is all of the where are they now? Things you've already seen. New whips on the block. Now, I showed you a picture of something I made before. You might have heard me talk about Tina before. Tina Thorvaldsdottir, who is, it's obviously an Icelandic name. She has written some wonderful mosaic crochet patterns, and I have taught one of her patterns, Havana, and she writes a lot of really good patterns on a mosaic crochet. Well, she released a free one about the beginning of the lockdown, I think, and it's called Hope, and it's basically about our hope for the future of the human race after the COVID-19 scare has gone. So I made one already, but I could only show you a photo because I had given it, because I made it for Amanda. Well, I've made another one. It is a different style of mosaic crochet to what I've done before. Instead of just putting your UK treble crochet in the row below, you do a slant, you do a front post here, and here you're covering up all of the instead of the occasional treble crochet going down to the row below, they're all going down to cover up all but the bits you want to show through. It's a stunning pattern. I absolutely love it. I will be making more. People are putting sort of rainbows in their windows as a kind of stay safe thing for when people are walking past, because there's social distancing, we're not seeing people really much. And I thought I might put some of these in the window. And so I'm definitely going to make more, particularly with this beautiful red colour. The yarn is Stylecraft Bellissima, which I get from Yarn Etc. I just buy in bulk, just buy loads of different colours for whatever random project I feel like doing. And that red is just so beautiful for it. The other one was grey, and this one is obviously, well, it's not obvious, but it's purple. But I'll probably do them all with the red. So yeah, absolutely love it. It's a free pattern. It's really well worth a go. I love it. And the knit along. So we started knit along on the 1st of April. There's 10 or more of us doing it. I don't know. We've got a hashtag, and also you can use that on Ravelry as a tag without the hash. And that is that's basically rainbow socks. So anything you fancy. We have already had 2 pairs finished. Sarah, I'm always talking about Sarah, she finished hers first, and then Gemma from Snuggly Star Yarns, who I will talk about more in a minute, she's finished hers as well. Have a look on Instagram for that tag. There's 30 something posts. Absolutely brilliant fun. In fact, Sarah started a 2nd pair. Yeah, I'm a little bit behind, so it doesn't matter. There are no rules really. Broadly, rainbow and socks, that's pretty much it. I'm not sure I made the right decisions about yarns for this. I'll explain. I started off with some Mothie and the Squid. Now, I don't know how you're seeing that because it looks a bit dodgy on my screen, but that is the most beautiful, deep, saturated, tonal purple. It's much nicer than it looks on the screen, I'm afraid. And then we go into, this is from Woolly Goodness Yarns, a mini set. These were this was a gift from Sarah and a swap. This was a gift from a friend who I took to Yarndale. It seems like many years ago, but it wasn't that long ago. So then we've got into the blue, and now we've got into the green. So the pattern, I'm actually using my own sock recipe, but the stitch pattern is from Diamonds in the Fluff by Leslie. Yeah, the rest of the sock is just my pattern. So it's really, really interesting. There's 60 grams. There's 6 10-gram minis, so 60 grams. And I thought I'll just have to do add in extra yarn for the heels, toes, and whatever. And I realised that actually I really don't need to do that, because my socks only weigh about 65 to 70 grams. So I probably could have made that up with just the heel, but it doesn't matter because I've used this beautiful mini here. Not all of it, thankfully. That will find its way into my blanket very soon. And then when I get to the heel here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dye a mini of a saturated green, beautiful. That's so lovely, that tonal stuff. I'm really, really, really getting into tonal yarns now. Oh, it's so beautiful. So I'm pretty sure I'll be turning the heel within the green. So what I'll do, I had originally thought I'd put the purple in. Of course, that's not going to work, is it? No. So I'll dye some really saturated green to go for the heel. And then I suspect I won't need anything for the cuff because I think I'll be struggling to use up all the yarn, and it won't look quite the way I want it to if the red doesn't have the same sort of width, length, height, measurements as the others. So there's the rest of them. So if oh, Luna wants to go out. Oh, she can wait. So yeah, I want to carry on with the red. I might make the red the cuff and then just do, I don't know what cuff is in the pattern. I just normally do a twisted rib. So knit one through the back loop, purl one. I could do purl two, knit one for the back loop. Now let me just let this cat out. What's up, Luna? Quick glimpse of her before she goes. I think it was 2 days ago. It was her anniversary of living with us. Such a happy year. Yeah, so 1 year ago this week she came to live with us. She's made us so happy. So yeah, let's have a look at the pattern. So the pattern's in kind of 8s, isn't it? So I could carry that on up to make it a twist, but then I'd have a big gap in between, wouldn't I? No, I don't know. I'll think of something anyway that sort of fits without the top, and maybe make the whole cuff red. I don't know, but I'll make them quite long. I really am quite enjoying my long socks at the moment. I haven't realised how often I wear my skews, because in the winter I wear boots all the time. And you know what it's like when socks fall down when you're wearing boots. It's so annoying. Well, there's the only solution for that is skew. Skew socks never, ever fall down. And they're long as well. And I really like that. And part of what I really like is the fact that they're really long. So I just don't know what, I think I get impatient to finish the socks and be, oh, it's this year. But in fact, I'd be happier if I had longer socks. So I think it will do me well, actually, to carry on right to the end of the red and make them a bit longer. But what I'm doing is I've got the ball and I'm knitting from both ends at once. So it gets a bit twisted. I'm doing a, oh Lord, I'm doing Sarah and I, because she doesn't see an awful lot of people with the lockdown. We have a knit group quite often on an afternoon. We'll sit for an hour in the afternoon and just FaceTime each other, video conference, and just sit and knit and chat. And she quite often sees me doing this thing. If you've ever knitted from both ends of the ball, you'll be familiar with this. They get twisted, and I have to hold them like this so that they untwist. But it's fine. That's what I got left of the green. So yeah, that's really good. Now, it's a knit along. There are no prizes at the moment, but there might be at the end, depending on what happens with the other stuff that I'm doing, what I'll tell you about in a jiffy. If you want to join in, it's not too late. You know me and the rules. So if you want to start a rainbow project, just go ahead and do it. Use the hashtag. I'll find you on Instagram if you use the hashtag, or comment on this video or the last one or the Ravelry, anything you fancy really. Just get involved and do something fun. It doesn't even have to be a 7-colour rainbow, you know, get on with it. Anyway, that's really good fun. Okay, so that's all the knitting and the crochet. Quick slurp of tea. Lovely. Right, spinning. I have been spinning recently art yarn, trying to make art yarn. Now you'd think, if you look at how lumpy and bumpy and weird art yarn, you think, oh, that should be easy because just, you know, any beginner can do that. Well, you'd think, wouldn't you? But it's taking me a little while to get the hang of it. So I have got a couple of things to show you here. I have got a big bag of undyed or grey Corriedale yarn, and I've been working my way through it, and I practiced doing thick and thin yarn on the Magicraft Pioneer wheel that my friend Andrew has lent to me, and I did thick and thin yarn with the grey, and then I plied it with a light blue mohair. So you can see there's some lovely great big lumps. Now this is for weaving, it's not for knitting. I mean, yeah, maybe down the road I'll knit with it, but I don't know. Did you hear me burp? Well, it wasn't a burp, it was kind of like a rumble. Sorry if you did. So there, oh, look at my nails. Oh my giddy aunt. The ones that my daughter did are fared a lot better. The ones that haven't been done yet are a mess. So yeah, I like it. With weaving, what you can do is you can just kind of make the texture bits that you like come to the front. You can pull them out the front, or you can just pull them to the front of the warp. So you've got the warp going down like that. Typically you'd be going in, out, in, out, in, out. There's one bit you really like, you can just come in front of 3 warp threads with it, if you like, really. So that's the plan for that. I'm quite happy with that. It's still amateurish, and you know, please don't be thinking, crikey, she's not very good at that, is she? Well, not be worried about thinking that. You're right, I'm not very good at it, and I have no problem with that. As I've said before, and I will say again, if a thing's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly at first. And I do not have any problem with people not thinking, oh, I wouldn't use that, or we don't like that, or I could do better than that. That's fine. The next thing I did, I got my blending board out. Now, have you used a blending board before? I'll put in a little pic here of what I did with it. So if you haven't used one before, the idea is it's like a sort of dog brush. It's got lots of spiky bits on it, and you can blend different fibres together, and then you can form it into what is known as a rolag, which is like a little cigar of fibre. And you can see I've blended together black and some greys and this beautiful teal. And then what you do then is you just pull this and you spin from there, and it gives you a blend of all these colours. Now, I bought the blending board after borrowing one, hiring one from my local Spinners, Dyers and Weavers Guild, because I thought I was going to teach days, learn to spin days, and people would have a go with a drop spindle, and then they would make some rolags, and they would have a go on the wheel and all this stuff. And then the reality of being an autistic woman and trying to teach days kind of hit, and I found I couldn't really do them, and they were just too much stress. So I haven't taught any days. So the blending board hasn't been used, which is really, it's awful to have bought something and not used it. And the reason I don't use it for my own spinning is that I want some things that are a particular colour, and I find it really hard when I'm spinning to get a colour I want, because you've got 2 plies together and it messes it all up. Anyway, so when I'm spinning for art weaving, everything is different. And so I spun 3 of these. So I made 3 of these. Put it back in the bag. So I made, I was actually on one of my knit group FaceTimes with Sarah when I was making mine. Let me show you a picture of mine. And got her to choose colours from the fibre I had, and I made some for her, which is these. Now these are going in the giveaway, the swap bag for her. And so I then spun the yarn, and I spun it on the Magicraft again, thick and thin, and then I plied it with, rather than plying it with it itself, which I always used to do, I plied it with some thin sparkly black thread that I got from the Cone Exchange, which, if you don't know, it's if you're not anywhere near me, you wouldn't know. It's in Harrogate. It is a kind of thrift store, charity shop for craft stuff. Anyway, this is what I come up with. So again, it's very variable, but there are some bits. I mean, look at that. That's so pretty, this one here. And there are some bits that are a bit kind of over twisted. This has already been set. I have thwacked it, but I was getting used to a new wheel as well as new processes. So I love those little coils. Really starting to get the hang of these coils at this point. And I really like it. My frustration is that I've made it in sort of teal and purple. I've already done a purple and teal weave, so I wasn't necessarily intending to do another purple and teal weave, but until I do, this yarn isn't really going to find its home, is it? Unless I do something sorry, I'm being silly. Unless I do something else with it, I don't know. I really don't care at the moment. It's just more for the stash. I love it. I really like it, and I'm definitely getting the hang of it. So that's some spinning, but also, oh, there's one more thing. You know, I keep saying that Sarah and I do these swaps. Well, I talked about a lot about swaps last time, didn't I? Well, we had sent each other a package which had the minis in it, which I've used, and we sent each other another package with 2 presents in it this time. And yesterday I had a bit of a bad day. It's difficult getting hold of food at the moment, and we had a delivery from the supermarket, the last one we're going to get for weeks because there's no more slots, and it was due in the morning. It didn't come, and my whole day, it's difficult to explain, but as an autistic person, a lot of us feel we have expectations for the day and they're not met, and we don't know how to cope. And I didn't know how to cope yesterday. I was pretty stressed all day. So I what was I wittering on about that for? Oh my goodness, where am I at? Swaps. Oh yes, so the swap. So we did on our knit group yesterday afternoon, we did a swap. So Sarah opened from me the first thing I ever wove on a loom I made for her, and a book that she'd been interested in. I sent that, and she sent me this bag of fibre. So there's some purple with little bits of undyed in there, because this is BFL, so blue faced Leicester. I haven't really spun with it before, so she's dyed it for me. And then this is a much darker version of the purple, and then there's these greens. Look at these greens. Hang on a sec. And so I opened it yesterday afternoon, and as soon as we'd finished chatting, I came straight down, went to the wheel, and that was a lot bigger. I spun a whole bobbin full on the Magicraft Pioneer, is quite a big bobbin, a thick and thin, really getting the hang of that as well. And I core spun it. So instead of spinning it, just twisting the fibres, I spun it around a core. And then I applied it again with that light blue mohair that I had, and I tried to make coils. And it's still wet because I soaked it yesterday and thwacked it on the trampoline this morning. What do you think of that? Do you think I'm getting better? Look at these coils. Now it's set, so they're not moving about anymore. And some of them are huge and some of them are smaller. But again, reminding you again, it's not really for knitting. I could knit with it for sure, but it's really for weaving. Do you think I'm getting better? Tell me what you think. I'd love to know. I am really happy with this. It's still wet. I'm going to put it back on the radiator. Well, it's not on the radiator. It's next to the radiator. So I'm really happy with it. I'm definitely getting the hang of it. And I still keep messing up the wheel though. On reflection, learning to use a new wheel, and it's a double treadle rather than a single. At the same time as learning new techniques isn't the best, but you know, in at the deep end, that is where it's the only way I know how to get into something is the deep end. So yeah, it's fun. Okay, let's go on to weaving. So when I spoke to you last, I was partway through my red, yellows and oranges weave, and I wasn't enjoying it as much as I had the previous ones, possibly because the colours aren't really my colours, but also because the colours aren't really my colours, I didn't have the variety of yarns. I had lots. I mean, you saw the picture. Perhaps I'll put it in again here, of the yarns I had to use. So quite a variety in colours, but not textures. They're all mostly kind of acrylics in different sizes, or stuff like that. I didn't have the sock yarns and that kind of thing. So the textures were a bit lacking for me, and the warp, the long fibres. I had made one of the warp threads an eyelash yarn with very long lashes, and they caught. I mentioned that, and that was the bane of my life. But the rest of the warp didn't have any text in it, and I really felt the cost of that in the project. So here's the finished project. I'll just give you a quick. So yeah, there is texture. There's some of the eyelash yarn there. You can see that more at the edge than you can on the front. And there's some lovely sequins. I didn't put sequins in the warp this time after the last time I did that with the greens and blues. That was pretty disastrous. There are some hand spun singles in here. I think that's one of them. Orange and yellow singles in there. And yeah, various bits and pieces. And it's got that kind of trademark triangles, rectangles all over the place. And you can see here, these are the warp yarns I used. This is actually the last of the yellow Easy Knits Bounteous colourway honey, I think, that I'd used for a couple projects. I absolutely loved that. And this is some Tapious stone washed. So it's lovely in that I'm using up things that some things are quite precious, some things are quite expensive. It's a big piece. Again, I did that great big long warp. So it's a very snuggly wrappy scarf, or it might be something else. The girls, when they saw it, said it's very Christmassy, isn't it? I was berated in jest on Facebook for using this word in April. But, oh no, nails are catching on things. It is quite Christmassy, isn't it? So the girls were saying we could use it as a Christmas table runner. I think that would work quite well, actually. What do you think? So yeah, so that one's finished. And what I wanted to do next, I did talk to you about it last time, was to do a tapestry weave inspired by Kelly Casanova. Now, I got this set up. I think I'll just take some photos and I'll put in some photos in a bit. But hang on. What I did was I set up a warp with some undyed sock yarn, and I gathered together a whole load of yarns, and I was going to do a kind of sea looking tapestry weave. Okay, so I'll show you the yarns I chose and how far I got with it. And that's where it stopped. And I've had to admit to myself that I am not enjoying it at all. I thought I would enjoy it a lot more, and I persevered last night, got the girls to suggest some things, and it's just not working for me, and I'm absolutely gutted because I was so excited about it. But I am going to pull it out today and do something different. Now, it's a very short warp I've made because I only wanted to have enough to do, say, 2 bags, to the front and back of a bag. But so that's okay. What I'm going to do is take out what I've done, and I'm going to do something I've been thinking about for a while, which is clasped weft. Now, if you're a weaver, you might have heard of this. If you're not, you won't. It's this section here. So you've got one weft thread coming from one side and another different colour coming from the other side, and you either randomly or however you want vary them, and you get that effect. Now, the effect's not quite the same if all the warp threads are the same, but I've been looking at that pattern and thinking that I'd quite like to make a set of table mats. You'd normally do table mats with cotton, and this warp is actually sock yarn, so it's wool and nylon. However, we don't usually put things straight off the stove onto the table. So I don't think that's a problem, and there might not even be for me really, but I don't know anybody who puts pots straight out of the oven or whatever onto the table. So I think probably they would hold up. Anyway, I'm going to give it a go. So I'm going to do some clasp weft, do some experimenting with it, and just finish up that warp. And then, I mean, yeah, Gemma B Makes, who makes the most amazing bags. She's got a podcast as well, a lovely podcast. And she has offered to make me a bag out of one of my weaves, so I could probably just, stop being an idiot and make my own, but it's possible that I would just make a bag out of the clasp weft. But anyway, I'm going to use that So I'm not right at the moment, I'm not hugely inspired to do another big weave, and I'm not going to waste that warp. So I'll do a clasp weft job with that, and then see what I can do with the fabric for that. And then at some point I will decide on some colours and do another big art weave, maybe with some of my hand spun. Okay, right. Something new. I have had a great week for something new. You've already seen the fibre I got from Sarah. Also, I had talked to Sarah about minis. Now, I never was a fan of minis because I didn't really need minis because I had so much leftover sock yarn from all the socks I made. And obviously they're expensive to buy because they're expensive to make. They're a fiddly pain in the neck to make. You've got to wind, you know, say you're doing even 20 gram minis, you've got to wind 5 skeins for every 100 grams of yarn instead of 1. And then you've got to dye them and dry them and all that stuff. So that's why minis are expensive. I completely get it, but I didn't really see the purpose. But now I do. And we've done a bit of a mini exchange, Sarah and I love them. And I love the opportunity it gives you to experiment with dyeing. Now, you might know right back at the beginning, was it episode 2 or 3, that was called #dye1skein, and it was me encouraging you to have a go at just dyeing yarn just once, just have a go. But if you've got a whole skein of undyed sock yarn, it's probably only going to cost you £6 or something, but you still don't want to blow it on a method you haven't really used before and don't know whether you're going to felt it or don't know whether the colours will come out as you expect. But dyeing a mini, just putting a 5 gram mini together and having a go at that is completely different. And the these squares here for the Advent blanket, this one's actually 4.5 grams pink, but generally I look to have about 5 grams in each of those. So a 5 gram mini is very useful. I mean, it will definitely get used. And anything bigger than that, the socks, the lockdown socks, are 20 gram minis. So anything between 5 and 20 gram minis are really useful for various different things. And in fact, the mini that was from Mothie and the Squid for the heels and toes, that's a 10 gram mini. So yeah, they're useful. Anyway, I was talking about making minis, and I have a Swift, an umbrella Swift. You know, you open it up and you can wind a skein on it. The thing is, if you've got a skein of undyed yarn and you want to make a mini skein, you can't do it on the Swift because the skein of yarn is on the Swift. So unless you buy a second Swift, which would seem quite excessive to wind a few minis, it doesn't make sense to do it that way. I did have one of those plastic sewing things that you put down and then you use a rotary cutter, use it as a ruler for that. But that disappeared. We're tidying my daughter's bedroom at the moment. I suspect we might find it in there. I used to wind them around that, but actually I'd rather do it on the Swift. So I went ahead and I bought a big cone of undyed yarn. So it's a kilogram, so it's effectively 10 100 gram skeins. But I can put that under the Swift and I can wind a mini of any size I want. In fact, I can put it on the scales under the Swift and work out any size of mini I want. And I'm delighted with that. It'll last me a long, long time, and I'll have many, many happy hours of play with it. And in fact, I've already used it for the warp for the tapestry weave. But this was just under the threshold for free delivery. And so I ordered an additional, oh, knickers, shouldn't have done that. I ordered an additional skein of treat yarn for me, which is 80% superwash merino, extra fine, with 10% cashmere and 10% nylon. An extra skein, just a luxury skein, just for fun. And when it came like this. This is 5 skeins. So I had ordered from a business called yarnundyed.net. I'm going to put this up here because it's really important I get this across to you. Yarnundyed.net. They're actually part of AC Wood Specialty Fibres. I have ordered from AC Wood Specialty Fibres before. In fact, almost all my undyed yarn is from them, and I have never had a problem with it. And then I do this order, and I order one, and they send 5 by mistake. Now, they're clearly working very hard during lockdown to keep their business open, and it's a small family business. It's been going for 30 years. It's based in Yorkshire, in Bradford, and I was very keen to support them, and they sent 5 rather than 1. So I emailed and said, you sent 5 rather than 1, you've only billed me for 1. When, obviously now's not a good time, but when the lockdown's over, I'll send the 4 back to you. And I got an email from a lovely lady there who said, tell you what, we've enough things to worry about right now. Don't worry about sending them back. You keep them. Well, that was the sweetest and loveliest thing. And this isn't the cheapest yarn they do. It isn't. It's quite expensive. So basically, they've gifted me 4 skeins of yarn. And that's quite an expensive mistake for them. I wouldn't. This is their whole profit margin gone on that order. And I just felt that was such a kind thing to do. So I determined to do something good with that gift. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give away those extra 4 skeins, partly through the YouTube channel and partly through Instagram, to get to a wider audience. And again, I'm not looking to bring people to the YouTube channel because I don't want people to come and just be here for a giveaway. If you're interested in the YouTube channel, then great, stick around and watch. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start today, and I'm going to say that as part of supporting small companies, I feel strongly that small companies are going to struggle so hard during this corona crisis to even stay alive, and in any progress they've made, all the hard work they have put in for years can just be washed away by this one awful episode. So I feel strongly that once this is over, we need to support the small businesses and get them back on their feet. But right now, if they're still running, we need to use them now too. So this is the AC Wood stroke yarnondye.net giveaway. So for today, what I would like you to do, if you're interested in having a skein of this yarn, is to comment below and tell us a small company that you would like to support. Now, if they're not local to us, then they won't, that won't be any use to us, but that's fine. Put them on there anyway. A comment saying this is a small company that you would like to support, and then if we are close enough, we're in the same country as you, we'll know that they're a good company. That if we're thinking, right, not going out much at the moment, I've got some money to spend, I'm going to spend it with these guys. So all you need to do is comment below, or indeed on the Ravelry thread, or on Instagram, anywhere you want that I can see it. Tell us a small company that you want to support. Now, I will do a draw just before the next one, and you can either have this skein undyed and you can dye it yourself, or if you would like, you can specify a colour scheme and I will dye it for you. Obviously, I won't specify a specific technique, because if you've watched before, you'll know that my dyeing is relatively random. I can choose what technique I'm going to choose, but I can't choose what the results will be because I'm not that good. So you can have it undyed to dye yourself, or you can have it dyed by me. So that's the first part of the giveaway. There'll be something on Instagram as well. I'll be doing something probably every week for the next 4 weeks to get rid of these 4 skeins and to give them to people. But the main concept is to promote the small businesses that will really need our help over the coming weeks. Excellent. Okay, something else I got, something else that was new. I had seen my friend Sarah in one of our knit groups, and she'd got out this little portable scale she had, and I thought, oh, that's so cute. Now I have got a bag of leftover sock yarn. Oh, it's almost a reflection on that, but lots of bits of leftover sock yarn in here. And sometimes I don't know whether I've got enough to do a crochet square. Now with this blanket, if I didn't have enough, I would just switch to another yarn partway through. Did that a lot on the edges, the outer ones. But with the advent blanket, I'm not doing that. I just crochet until the yarn is finished, and then I complete the standard size square with the grey. So this one, as I said, was only 4.5. I normally do one more row than this, but it just means there's an extra row of grey. It doesn't matter. But I do want them to be a minimum size, so 4.5 grams is pretty much the minimum I want to use. And if I don't have that, that's fine. I'll put the the leftovers somewhere else, and the next leftover project I do when the advent blanket is over may well be fine with those, or else I'll give them to Amanda and she'll, from Mulan Gifts, and she'll find something to do with them. But I need to know when I'm picking up a ball of yarn, is there enough to do a square with this? And so I bought one of these. It is the cutest thing. Look how big it is. And it opens up like this. And then you just turn it on and it registers the weight of the little ball. I think it might have a protective cover on it. Yeah, it does. I'm not going to take it off, that's fine. And then you can, yeah, turn it off again and put it back in. And it just, it's protected like that. And it's in that project bag now with my yarn. I absolutely love it. It's the cutest thing. So that's something new. Also, one of the people who joined the knit along was somebody called Gemma from Snuggly Stars Yarns. And I just, you know, while I was saying hi, great socks, whatever, I happened to sneak across to her Etsy shop. And, well, you know, trying to support small businesses during this, it's going to be an excuse for a lot of shopping, isn't it? So, obviously, small businesses like that are having trouble getting post out because you're not allowed to leave the house unless it's for something specific. So people can only go out when they're going shopping already or whatever. So it's not really easy to get things out, but it came really quickly considering that. Now, I ordered 2 skeins, one for me and one for Sarah. And I know which one I had in mind for Sarah, and then she chose the one that I had in mind for her, so that was good. So this is the one I chose for Sarah. It was actually on sale, I think. It's called Wild Christmas Party, and it's on the yak sock base, which if you look at the green, I'm not sure if you're able to see this, but can you see that kind of, the depth of it, the colour of it, it's got that kind of grey-brown kind of colour behind it. That's from the yak. It's just amazing. So it's 70% superwash merino, 20% yak, and 10% nylon. And these are definitely her colours. So that's why I thought she'd like that one. So it's beautiful, isn't it? I love it. And then the one that I bought for me, a bit of the rainbow theme going on here. That is Williams Rainbow. It's on the Sparkle Glam base, which is merino, nylon, and stellina. And yeah, it's just beautiful. So there'll be more rainbow socks in my future. So there we go. Where's she based? I'm not exactly sure where she's based. Definitely in the UK, but I don't know where. So another small business is definitely worth supporting on Etsy. And she sent me as well this cute little colour pencil pin and a little badge. Knitting star. And this. So that all came with the package, which was absolutely lovely. So there she is, Snuggly Stars yarn. She doesn't actually say where she's on that, does she? Oops. So absolutely delighted with that. And yeah, the swap bag is now stuff going out of it, stuff going into it all the time. It's brilliant. And dyeing, just one small thing of dyeing. I couldn't resist running off a couple of minis and having a go with playing with some dyeing. Sarah, if you want these to be a surprise, look away for the next 10 seconds. Just had a bit of fun, nothing technical here, just playing. And again, the colours aren't particularly good. Oh, Alexa's trying to tell me something. Okay, Sarah, you can look.
I can tell you the
Alexa, stop. Does yours do that? Right, just a couple of skeins. They're going to go into the giveaway. There's loads of stuff going into the giveaway bag. It's getting bigger all the time. Have you done a giveaway? Have you thought about it? Talked about it a bit last time, didn't I? So much fun. Right, okay. I have absolutely tons of stuff around me now, but I think I've told you everything I wanted to tell you. So, what else is happening? Oh, I think my watch is telling me, my Fitbit is telling me I've got to do another steps, 161 steps in the next 10 minutes. So I'll round this up. Okay, so what do I need to tell you? If you've enjoyed it, like, subscribe, bell, that nonsense. If you would like one of the skeins of merino and cashmere, then comment below or on Instagram or on Ravelry or whatever, a small business you think we should support. If you want to get involved in the lockdown rainbow socks, please do. Hashtag here again. And I think that's it. Okay, so have fun, happy crafting, stay safe and all that normal stuff. And I'll probably see you next week. Bye.